All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Scale Riders podcast episode. I'm your host, 65 Lokes, and this is episode number 258. We are here with my guest, Gary Seeds. What's up, Gary? How you doing?
What up, Edgar? How you doing, bro?
What up, man? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Very
Good.
happy to have you here. Again, I know it's been some years, but man, it's awesome to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the invite. It's always fun. I don't know how many times we've done this. This is like 4 or 5 times now over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely been a while.
yeah,
And one thing from the last time, that you were on to now, a lot of things have happened, but the one thing that, I wanted to bring up on the podcast is I wanted to thank you for hooking me up with that Bear Garcia DVD,
oh,
the copy, a copy of the tape. That was something that has been kind of in the talks with friends for some years now,
right,
and I still remember you know one of my friends, Javier, bringing that up to me some years back and asking me, because me and him took a class together, a paint class, and that's where I got to meet him, and he took notice that my friend Luis and myself were still building model cars. And he was like, "Hey, I used to build model cars as a kid." And
right,
and he was asking, like, "Hey, whatever happened to Armando Flores, Gary Seeds, David Anthony Garcia?" And he knew these names because of the magazines, Lowrider Bicycle magazines. And he lived in Northern California. So I was like, yeah, they're still around, they're still building models. And he was shocked. And then he asked about the Bear Garcia tape. He's
right.
like, "Do you have that?" And I was like, "Nah, dude, I don't." So that right there piqued my interest. I started asking different people. I reached out to Jeffries as well. I was like thinking, if anybody's gonna have it, Jeffries is gonna have it,
Right.
especially him doing a lot of the RC
Yeah,
builds, and even just 124, 125th scale builds as well with electronics. So then he was like, "You know what? I remember watching it, but I don't have a copy of it." And I was like, "Dang." So, when you flip through the Lowrider Bicycle magazines, you do see some ads for it, and that just made it more like, man, this might be a hard one, to find. Kept asking so many people, no one had a copy of it or anything. And I remember I had asked you too. And time passed, and then you hit me up one day. They called me, and we talked, and you were like, "Hey, I got it."
yeah,
And
yeah.
how'd
I
that
know.
happen?
Yeah, it was a hard one to get. I just made one phone call, and I had it in my mail, in my
Wow,
mailbox.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was excited about being able to send you that.
hmm Yeah,
Uh,
when I got it, and I put it in the DVD player to start watching it. Just that intro with the music and everything, it just took me back. I was like, "Oh man, this is like totally like 90s like vibe, you know?"
right.
And it was just, I don't know, it was just interesting, to hear like Bear Garcia speak. Like you could just tell, he was very passionate about what he
Yep.
was doing, and just explaining, and even, I don't know, throughout the video, there's a lot of info that I was like, man, I could see how this must have helped a lot of modelers, to visually see it and also like listen to someone speak about it. And then eventually I had to reach out to one of my friends to ask him, like, "Hey, how do you digitize this, because it's in a DVD format, and I want to share it with others so they could like see it, kind of like a premiere kind of thing, like to show it, right?"
Sure.
So when I originally, like, when you gave it to me, right? The one friend, Javier, who kept asking me, like, "Hey, when can I see it?" I kept telling him, "Oh, later, because I'm gonna stream it or something. I really don't know when or what, but I'll do it later. But I'll let you know." Like, I put it away, and I think like a year passed, and through that year, he kept asking me once in a while out of Blue Moon, hey, do you still have it or you don't have it, huh? You're making this up. I'm like, no, I have it. I have it. And I was just like, I'm just waiting. I don't know what I'm waiting for. Like, I guess I'm just trying to see like how can I present this? Like, what's the right way to present this or what, you know?
Right.
And then time passed, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just sitting on this, and I remember him telling me like, "Hey, dude, you better show me this thing before anything happens to me or whatever." I'm like, "All right, all right, all right." So I reached out to a friend. He helped me like to I guess digitize it or put it like in a flash drive. And then from there, I was like, all right, cool. I think we could play it now, like through YouTube, you know?
Oh, nice.
And then there was like little snippets of the video that I grabbed to show them on Instagram. And I went on Bear Garcia's Instagram account because he does have one. And I was like, man, it looks like he hasn't been on here for like the last like 2 years, because there hadn't been any posts or anything.
Right.
Like, so I was like, I'm gonna tag him. I don't know, like what's gonna happen or what. So I posted little clips of it. I tagged him, and it's like I checked back like I don't know, 30 minutes later or so, and he immediately got it. Like he was already like replying and everything, sending me some DMs and just chirping out that he was even like watching that stuff, like those little clips. And then he had asked like, hey, I want to show this to my sons and his friends or whatever, like that. Can you send me like a card? Because he's like, I don't have anything. And then I was telling him like, oh yeah, I got this from Gary Seeds or whatever. And then he was like, what? He's like, dang, like he was tripping out,
Right.
that. And then he saw it, man, and he was just like tripping out, like that he had seen that video after all these years, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. That's cool. Um, yeah, it's always fun to see something you made or filmed, 15, 20 years ago, and all of a sudden run across it. And like once in a while, there's model cars that I sell. A lot of times I sell my model cars, and guys will have them in their collections for 15, 20 years. And all of a sudden I'll run across it, whether it's a picture of it or, you know, happen to go to their house or whatever, and there it is, still sitting there. So yeah, it's always kind of neat to see stuff like that. I always like seeing stuff that I painted that's really old too, and it still looks really good. But yeah, you was
Yeah,
probably
yeah. No,
digging that.
it's a trip because I was looking through some of the Loiter bicycle magazines earlier, and I was like, just kind of like this is one, a lot of people have seen some of these covers before, you know, and you're
Oh yeah,
featured, in these.
yeah.
And just from flipping through the pages, we get down to here. I'm gonna get right into this one right here. Let's see if you guys could see that right
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah. Seeds of success.
Yes.
Yeah,
So like, with this car, I'm looking at it and I'm going like, man, it's very like timeless, but it's very like it was very forward thinking. Like when you did it at the time, this still holds up. This is stuff that like a lot of people even in 101, they're trying to do stuff like this.
right.
You know?
Yeah,
Let me see how
yeah.
close we can get.
I've always been real fortunate to early on. I kind of developed my own style of like paint schemes and paint jobs on whatever I was painting, and over the years, um, people would recognize that and go, "Man, I saw this car, I saw this motorcycle, or whatever." And I knew you painted it. I just knew you painted it by the style of it. And they'd show me a picture of it. And like, oh yeah, man, I painted that like 15 years ago. Um, so yeah, it's kind of neat to have your own style, and something that was done back then is still in style today.
Yeah, and like in this car here, like the roof, the way it's flaked out. Um, did it did you have to just do a lot of coats of clear to bury that clear when you're doing that roof? Because man, that roof right there, it is shiny.
Is it,
It's like you could tell that was like dancing over
yeah,
the light, you know?
you see that model, that's the 63 Impala, the gold one.
Uh-huh.
That car, when I first started building models, I'd build a few lowriders, I'd build a few race cars, just whatever kind of struck my fancy. And then I heard about this magazine that came out, Lowrider Bicycle Magazine, and people were getting stuff in it. And I remember picking up this kit, the 63 Impala, and telling my buddy Ron Potts out in California, I said, dude, I'm going to build a model to get in that magazine. And so I ended up building that car and took it to San Diego. That's back when they used to have a model show at a firehouse, like an old fire department, but now it was like a maybe it was a fire department, but it was an old fire department, and they had an area there where they held a model car show every year. And that same day, that car won Best Interior. Armando's Local 64 was there, and Grapes of Wrath by Rick Hicks. So we were kind of the top three winners of that lowrider class in that show. I don't remember. I kind of want to say Armando probably took first place lowrider, and then Rick maybe second place, and then I think I probably took third place, but best interior over all. Well, that caught the eye of Lowrider Bicycle, and that day is the day they first shot that. And then after that, they end up doing a couple of features on my cars, and then they'd every time I show up to a show, they made it a point, it seemed like, to put me in that magazine, which I was very thankful for, because it it kind of made me a lowrider bicycle magazine star, along with Armando and David and all the other guys. But yeah, it was because of that 63 Chevy Impala. It's called the Bad Seed. Remember that, because it had a license plate on it that said Bad Seed on it.
Man, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I could see how, a lot of these magazines, you would get and just be like, just looking through them and being like, man, how trying to figure out how do they do this? What are they
Right,
using? And I'm sure for some people they probably could figure out like a couple things like, oh, they use this, oh, they use that. This
right,
from this product, from this company, but I know for myself as a kid, I had no idea with a lot of this stuff, like what was being used.
right,
Everything just seemed like wow, like this is like a whole nother level of building, and in my mind, I wasn't even considering even as a kid like airbrushing. I thought this was all being done by rattle can. That's what I was thinking
right.
also. Like as a kid, I was like, dang. But that car, the Bad Seed, do you remember like how long it took you to complete that build?
Um, I probably worked on that thing, off and on over a month, probably. Um, when I built that, I used to work for Disney as a production artist, and so I would work there during the day, and then I'd build models at nighttime. And prior to that, for over 10 years, I painted custom cars and drag boats, and of course motorcycles and stuff like that. So I had that paint, experience behind me. I when I attacked the models, I did the same thing I did to real cars. I did to these model cars, the same automotive paint, the same clears, use the same tape, and there's a 62 in there that's got a lot of graphics on it in that same article, that purple
Mhm.
one with the flip nose, and yeah, I just applied it to to the model kits. I kind of want to say that metal flake on that roof is these little tiny jars of flake you used to be able to buy at Pegasus for $4 or something like that. It was just a little tiny round jar. And no, it was a little square box is what it was. It was a little square box of metal flakes, silver, gold, and they used to sell it at Pegasus. I think I still have one of those boxes around because I built that car back in the early 90s. Yeah, man, I don't think because I didn't even get into models till I was like 32 years old. I built them as a kid, and then stopped at about 11 or 12. And then I got into real cars, and then I painted real cars and motorcycles and such. And then around the early 90s, 92, 93, I ended up getting into the model hobby. And I went to a show out in Orange County, the IPMS shows, and just got hooked. And I've been building them ever since. But yeah, no, a lot of that material on those cars, well, all my cars really is automotive, House of Color, acrylic lacquers, acrylic urethanes, 2K clears, airbrushed. You know, I've done a few spray can ones. Matter of fact, I'm going on my channel, Hanging with Mr. G Seeds. Probably starting this week or next week, I'm going to start showing a lot of painting tips for guys that want to paint model cars. And if any of your subscribers want to go over there, there's lots of, over the last couple of years, I showed a lot of how-to on model cars and real motorcycles. Metal flake and candy and lace and all that stuff. I would do step-by-step videos. But I always get guys that want to paint model cars. The only problem is the paint I use is automotive paint, and they're using spray can paint. So it's kind of hard to show them how to paint these model cars with paint that they're really not going to be able to afford. So yesterday and today, to kind of prepare to start doing these how-tos on my videos, I went out and I bought a bunch of Cretex paints, water-based paints, the Extreme Lacquer spray cans. Now, I don't use this stuff. I use, like I said, automotive paint, but a lot of the guys do use this. So instead of trying to teach them how to paint with automotive paint that's way too expensive just to be playing with, I'm going to learn how to use this, the same paints they're already using, and see if I can do graphics and whatever stuff with that. So something to kind of look forward to, I guess.
Oh man, that's gonna be awesome. That's a good approach. That's pretty cool of you to, to do that because it is pretty expensive, to
Right,
buy and start to get into like automotive paints for your
right.
model cars. And if for your viewers, subscribers that already have and this is the kind of stuff they use, or even some people that don't even, they haven't experimented yet with Createx, it's
Yep.
not gonna hurt the bank, to like get some of those paints and like try out some of the things that you'll be showcasing.
Yeah, it's just going to make it so much easier. Like I said, the last couple of years, I have been showing how I paint models or how I paint real motorcycles, but it's always automotive paint, and I realize that the average guy doesn't have access to automotive paint like I do. I got cabinets out there full of it because I've been painting for 50 years. So I've got a lot of that paint. But so instead of trying to teach them what I do, I'm going to try to learn what they do and then try to see if I can't do the same type of graphic work, which I'm pretty sure I can. It's just water-based paint shot through an airbrush. It's more the technique and the patience you got to have to paint one of these. Um, Everything else can be taught, you know, steps and do this first, do this second, that all that can be taught.
No,
Hopefully it helps
definitely.
out a lot of guys. That's my main objective, to help other modelers.
No, that's great. Let me real quick, let me give out some shout outs too, because I'm checking the chat room,
Oh,
and we
right.
do we have some, some viewers that are checking in. So I wanted to thank Builds by George Juarez for hooking us up with the super chat right there. Thank you, man, for that, and thank you for tuning in as well. Also, Left Coast Model Car Builds, Slowly Models, John Paul, Steven Cassell, Model Car 1589, OmniWorks, Raven 79. What's up, guys? Thank you guys for tuning in and being on here on the chat. If you guys have any questions that you would like for me to ask Gary, please let me know, and I'll pass that to him, and I'll let him know. Um, let me see here. Yeah, Gary, it's so awesome of you to be able to do those kind of things, because a lot of the times, everybody is like in their own, world, like building and doing their own approach before they discover a community. And then eventually they go, you know what, let me check YouTube, let me see what info I got on there. And next thing they'll be coming across your channel or other channels that will do some tutorials and show. And then
Right.
from there, that's gonna motivate them to be like, you know what? I learned something, or let me get that stuff so I can try out what he's talking about, and keep moving forward, because it kind of sucks when you can't really find any info, resources, or anything, and you feel stuck, and then you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, and then you start feeling defeated, that you're like, you know what, I don't think this is for me, like this hobby. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that type of paint job or anything.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I tell people. I say, they look at me and they say, man, I would never be able to do that. And I go, dude, if I showed you how to do it, you could do it. It doesn't take a brain surgeon, because if it did, there's no way I could do it. Everything. And the thing about doing custom graphics and painting a model car, it's the same steps on every car. So once you learn that sequence of steps, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get. But it's always going to be the same. Preparation of the model, the priming of the model, the sanding of the primer, the base coat, the inner coat clear, laying the tape, picking your colors. It's always going to be the same steps. You know, um, and it's just like that with real cars and motorcycles. It's all a series of steps. Once you learn the steps, or you have somebody tell you the steps, um, that makes it a lot easier. Because over the years, I mean, I pretty much had to figure out the steps myself. But now, and for years and years, I pass it on. I'm a custom car painter for life, and the one thing I don't want to fade away when I'm gone is custom paint. So I tell everybody how to do it. I mean, some people you can't tell how to do anything, but um, if they ask me, I should, if they say, hey, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Man, I tell them every time. Hopefully they'll go home and do it. So yeah, I just want to help promote the model car business, or hobby, because I've been in this model stuff for 35 years now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, from your paint jobs, there's an effect. There's something that you add to your build, which is the cobwebbing.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember, like, some years back, seeing somebody doing cobwebbing on a 101 scale car, right?
Right.
They were doing like a custom, and they had like an airbrush with a compressor, and they're spraying it, and you're seeing how, like, it's just creating this pattern, right?
Right.
And a lot of people, even myself, I was blown away, because to me, I was like, wow, like what the heck? Like, that's just another effect to add to your cars. And from flipping through the magazine, I'm like looking at this and I'm going, wait a minute, dang, this is cobwebbing too, but on a 125th scale car. And I don't feel I ever like noticed it until I started putting two and two together. Like I always overlooked it. I might have thought, oh, maybe it's flake or something.
Right.
But I'll show you everybody that's on here. On these two models, it has it, in the effects. I'll take some photos later and I'll post these later, um, in the here on the community posts so people could see. But when I started to see that, I was like, oh man. And then I started to notice it more. You were on some of the new stuff when you were like sending me some photographs of some of the latest builds and stuff. And I was like, man, like no one else is doing that, like that effect. Like, and I thought,
Well,
man, I wonder if it's a very difficult thing to do or
it's the easiest thing in the world to do. I mean, it's the easiest effect you can do when you're painting. You want a cobweb or a spider web, they call it. Just give me just a second. I want to. It's getting kind of hot in this room. I had to turn on my air conditioner. Um,
yeah, no, it's all good. Do
yeah,
it up, man.
but cobweb. Um, the hardest part about cobwebbing is you have to have the right of paint, and the right paint is acrylic lacquer. Okay, if you can get a hold of some lacquer paint, acrylic lacquer, and all that is cobweb. All it is unreduced paint. So first of all, lacquer is really thick. So if you pour it into a gun or you pour it into an airbrush, you fill up the cup and you go to pull the trigger, it's good. It's so thick, it's not going to want to come out of the gun. So if you reduce it just a hair, enough for it to start spitting, that's your cobweb. If you reduce it too much, now you're spraying it like paint. So you don't want to reduce it too much. You just want to just enough to get it to come out of the end of that gun and do that splatter all over. And that's all cobweb is, but it's acrylic lacquer. It's very hard to do it with water-based paints, very hard to do it with acrylic enamels, urethanes. But if you can get a hold of acrylic lacquer, which I have acrylic lacquer, but that paint is 45, 50 years old. It's a Metal Flake brand, candy brandy wine. I have different colors, but so especially out in California, most paint shops won't even deal with lacquer. It's kind of outlawed. They don't even want lacquer inside their paint shops because they'll get a giant fine. But there's people out there that still have it. Maybe old painters that might have it at their house or old paint shops. You walked in there and you just said, "Hey, you don't happen to have any acrylic lacquer, do you? Quart of it, pint of it, something you'd sell for $5?" Most likely they'd give it to you because nobody uses acrylic lacquer anymore. Very rare. But that's
Man,
all
I,
it
I
is.
didn't I had no idea about that. I didn't
Yeah,
even know.
it's just unthinned or barely thinned acrylic lacquer paint. That's all it is. It's the easiest way to get a spray effect and the fastest is it once you start spraying, you just cover up the area that you want to do. You put it on as little or as much as you want to put on there.
Yeah, and like since you've been painting, Gary, for all these years, when was it that you've noticed or that you can remember when those lacquers started to go away or be outlawed, like in California?
Sometime around the mid 80s, they were trying to push water-based paint even back then, and it never really got caught on. Now they do have water-based paint, but yeah, they were trying to get rid of lacquers. You know, they were really restricting a lot of the paint. Like you've heard of Murano Pearl.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Murano Pearl had a lot of lead in it, so that's why you don't see Murano Pearl around anymore, unless somebody happens to stumble across a stash of it. that somebody's been holding for, 40 years. Um, they started taking out all the chemicals that they figured were harmful to people. Um, so lacquer was one of them, and they eliminated lacquer. Now they still use lacquer, I believe, in the furniture, factories that make furniture. I believe they still use lacquer there. And I'm sure it's just acrylic lacquer. It's either a lacquer or what a paint they call nitrocellulose. Um, you can probably get it through something like that. You may try eBay. I've bought lacquer off of eBay before. Um, but yeah, or in the mid '80s, they started. Um, they really attacked the mom and pop uh, body shops and paint shops back then. Now this is in California. It started there, and then it spread all the way across the states. But they started it heavy in California, where they were getting rid of acrylic lacquer.
Wow.
And
Regarding the like the Murano that you mentioned, I've seen like photographs of Murano,
mhm.
on eBay and also just doing Google searches. And I've always noticed when they're in the that glass type of like container, uh,
Right?
some of it like they've shown photos when it's open, it looks kind of like a paste
Oh, it is.
material.
Yeah, it's very wet. It's not a powder. Most of the pearls you get now are kind of powdery, like House of Color pearl. I have some pearls here that are wet pearls. But Murano was always wet. If you opened up the jar, um, there was. I had heard one time somebody told me, like when I was in my 20s, that was like uh, beeswax or something like that on top of it, but it was wet, and you had to mix it up Murano pearls, and it didn't take a whole lot of Murano to pearl something. I mean, you could literally pearl a whole motorcycle with like a couple of like fingernail size pearl in your paint. It was very condensed, and having the lead in it really made it sparkle different than the pearls we have now. When they took the lead out of it, the pearl's just not the same anymore. Whether or not it was bad for people, I don't know. Because I mean, I've been painting for 50 years, and I'm fine. I'm still walking around. You know.
Yeah, with the Murano, I've heard about that it has lead and everything. It always made me just think like, was it just dangerous the process of spraying it for the painter, or
Well,
or was it more like once it was sprayed and everything dried and it was, clear coated and covered that, it was fine now. Like no one
no,
was gonna have exposure to it.
no. Well, yeah. I mean, once it's sprayed on there and it's clear coated, it's sealed. But the reason it affected the painters is because back in the '80s, it didn't matter if we were painting enamel, acrylic enamel, painting acrylic lacquer, painting Murano pearl, painting House of Color candies. None of us wore masks. None of us wore masks. You rarely did you see somebody in a spray booth with a mask on, especially in a custom shop. And we were in there all day because a lot of our paint jobs to do a candy apple red or a candy apple blue or whatever color we were painting, whether it be a graphic or whether it was the whole car, we didn't put 3 or 4 coats of this paint on. We were putting 8, 12, 20 coats of color onto these cars, and we were in there with no spray mask. So, and spray masks were around, but when you're 23 years old like I was, and you made 150 bucks a week, 8 hours a day doing these jobs, $20-$30 was a lot of money to buy a mask. I remember the biggest thing I ever bought back then was a DeValvis JGA 502 spray gun, and it was $200. You know, it took a week's pay for me to buy that. I still have it. Matter of fact, I have it tattooed on the back of my arm. That's a that's a JGA 502 spray gun. Yeah, we just didn't wear masks. So that's why it was effective to the painter. You know, you can ask a lot of the old guys like me. You know, I'm 66 years old. Back in the 80s, I was 20, you know, in my 20s. And all those same guys from back then, they'll tell you, you know, we didn't wear spray masks. We were supposed to. People told us to all the time. But yeah, 20, $25, $30 mask, that was out of the question.
Yeah, and working at a custom paint shop, like all the paint, was that something that the company or the place that you worked at, did they already provide the paint or the customer, or was this something that you were going out and getting?
Well, I mean, I would, you know, place an order with the paint store, but yeah, the paint store supplied the paint. You know, back then paint was fairly cheap. You know, a quart of House of Color candy apple red might cost you $12. You know, as opposed to 150 or whatever they charge for it now. You know, but and paint jobs were cheap. You know, we paint a whole car for $500. Nice car, you know. But material was cheap back then. The spray masks are still $30. They never
Mhm.
really went up. But the spray guns are expensive. I have a $1,200 gun now. You know, one of my guns was $1,200. When back then the top of the line was that JGA 502 DeValvis gun. That was $200. And if you wanted to pay $50 more, you bought a Teflon lined cup, spray cup, put on the bottom of it. So that was a week's worth of money right there. But you
Yeah,
needed it.
dang.
You
And
know?
when was there ever a time when you started to notice, like, things being outlawed, or the laws kicking in and things are changing, that you were like, did it ever make you think about the future of the paint or where this is headed? Like, man, this isn't gonna be working out for us, or like just the paint industry in general?
Well, you know, the rumor was, and I never heard it from anybody but other shop owners, paint stores, stuff like that, was at that time in the 80s, California was trying to squeeze out the um, the small mom and pop paint shops because of the chemicals. They did it to the chrome industry. All the chrome shops eventually closed up and moved out of state because California made it so hard for them to have a working chrome shop with all those chemicals. You know, you used to have a chrome shop in every block, and chrome was cheap. You know, 57 Chevy, you can go down there and get the whole front bumper re-chromed for $100. You know, and there was a chrome shop like on every block. It seemed like back then. Well, they were doing the same thing with the paint people. You know, they got very you know, chemicals are bad for you, this and that. You know, EPA, all this other crap. OSHA. You know, they were trying to squeeze out, like I said, the small mom and pop body shops, custom shops, and all of this. And what their plan was, from what I heard, was eventually the state of California was going to have their own big giant body shop. And when you got a dent in your car and you needed it fixed, that's where you took it. You know, same thing if you wanted your car completely repainted. You know, they were going to actually take over the paint and body business. You know, it would never happen with custom shops because you know, custom shops are back then. Custom shops were kind of outlaws. You know, I think there was a whole different crowd of people used to hang when I used to hang around at custom shops painting bikes and stuff. there was a whole different crowd of people. You know, you had uh, hardcore like bikers and crap like that. There was always something happening at the shop. You know, somebody pulling out guns on this, or you had hookers in there. And I mean, there was always something going on. Always something going on in these shops. Um, so it would have been very hard to for the state of California to take over the custom paint industry. You know, there's a lot rougher crowd. You know, you when I was in my 20s, you know, I'd be dating some girl, and the girl's parents would, you know, so what do you do? And I go, well, I work over at the custom paint shop. You know, and, well, how long you been there? You know, a few years. Well, what do you plan on doing for real? You know, that's how they looked at it. It wasn't a real job. It was just a bunch of long-haired guys painting lowriders and choppers and, you know, hot rods. Um, yeah, there's no way the government would have ever took over that, because it just opened up somewhere else down the street. You know, people are always going to get their stuff custom painted, whether it was by somebody. Then, you know, the government, there's no way they can take over the collision shop and the insurance stuff, but they'll never would have been able to take care of or take it over any custom shop at all.
Yeah, that's what it seems like with the like with a lot of the automotive like collision shops. It's mostly what like water based like paint. I
Mm-hmm.
have a friend that has a shop, and when he started his shop originally before he was gonna launch it, he used to tell me, "Man, I want to because he loves custom paint, and he's like, man, I want to have a shop where customers come in, I'll do jobs for them with House of Color and lacquers and all these things. So
Mm-hmm.
then time passed, and he finally launched his business, and he was like, oh well, it's gonna be really hard for me to start off promoting as like a custom paint shop. In order for me to get off my ground and continue going, move forward, I have to be more in code with like a collision shop and this and that. And then he started bringing in everything like water-based stuff. And I was very unaware. I was just kind of learning, everything he was kind of telling me. And then eventually later he started to offer those other services now. So now he does like he balances between both.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh man, I had no idea like everything was majority water based, like because he was showing me all the racks with all the
Right.
colors and his mixing area and everything. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And California, they forced all those guys into that. You know, either you switch all your paint system over, or you're out of business. They had no alternative. You know, so yeah, a lot of those production shops are all water based, which is kind of lame because they do the water based paint job, um, and then they top it with 2K clear. It doesn't make any sense. You know, everything's water based, and then you top it with the urethane, which is all the chemicals again. You know, so
Yeah, it seems like the clear has by far more chemicals than the actual paint.
right, yeah. I've never I only tried water based one time because a buddy of mine had a shop and he had to do water based, and I happened to be standing there, and he goes, "You want to spray the back of this?" There was a rear bumper on a van, and I go, "Yeah, let me try it." And that's the only time I've ever done it. I've always been the House of Color guy. Um, you know, I've never done like production work or collision work. Um, I've only done custom paint. That's all I've ever done. You know, whether it's the airbrushing or pinstriping or laying graphics or metal flake. I've been very fortunate in my career that I never had to do the collision type stuff. You know, so you know, it was ideal for me because that's all I wanted to do. You know, since I was 6 years old, that's all I wanted to do was be a custom car painter. And luckily for me, for 50 years, you know, That's what I did. I wouldn't know how to spray water base.
Yeah,
Never had an interest.
right now that you brought up pinstriping, as far as like, the different brands or just different types of paints, is what by far is like your favorite one that you like to use till this day for pinstriping?
Um, I used to like to use One Shot, and there used to be a sign shop here in town that sold One Shot. Um, it just flows really nice. It's very smooth. The lines carry longer without having to re-dip your brush. But then they stopped selling it. The sign shop closed, and so I couldn't get a hold of House of Color. I'm sorry, One Shot anymore. So I started using the House of Color, and then now I have a preference for the House of Color stuff because I've been using that for the last 15, yeah, 20 years. You know, so yeah, that's all I have. If you open up my pinstripe kit box, I have a big box out there that has pinstripe paint. It's all House of Color paints, but it's getting so expensive now that used to be $10 a can. Now it's 26, 36, $40 a can for a small little can of paint. The paint prices have just gone up. That's why I told my wife, I go, this is my last year. I have to retire. Um, I don't charge anymore my customers and stuff. I don't charge them any more money than I did 10 or 15 years ago for a job. If I do a metal plate top or graphics or something like that, it's the same price. Because if I charge them what it really costs, they couldn't afford it. So even though I'm charging the same money, the material bill is 3 times as much. So I don't make nearly as much as I should on a job, but I also can't charge the customer the price of that material because they couldn't afford it. Luckily for me, after I buy the material and I do the job, usually I have enough left over to paint stuff on the side or model cars or whatever. But yeah, they really ruin the paint industry by everything is so expensive now. It's ridiculous. You know, like I
And
said, back
making
back in the '80s, you could buy a quart of candy apple for $12. The real paint, not this stuff they have now.
Damn, that's crazy. So like that making that decision was it did that make it pretty easy for you, or was it still kind of something you had to kind of think about for a bit,
Um,
regarding like retirement?
no, because I'll always do it, and I don't talk about it much, but over the last couple of years, my health has been going kind of not as good as it used to be. Um, I get tired very easy, and so I just figured it was time. You know, I just want to kind of spend time painting little stuff on the side, painting stuff for buddies of mine, and doing my models and my Hot Wheels. I like taking the Hot Wheels apart and repainting them, and but yeah. Anymore, if I kept doing it, um, I don't think I'd be very healthy very much longer. Right now, I still feel pretty good, but yeah, um, 50 years is a long time to do the same thing over and over again. But the only reason you do it, or I did it so long, is I love to custom paint. I love doing flames. I love doing graphics. I love doing metal plate. That's what I do, and that's what I've always done. There was a time in there back in the '90s for 10 years. I worked as a production artist for Disney and Warner Brothers um, for like 10 years, but I always even still kept painting stuff at home. I was always painting something because that's just what I love to do. It all started with bicycles when I was a little kid, 9 years old. sanding and repainting bicycles, trying to figure out how they did metal plate.
Man, because that you grew up on that. That was like a huge thing back at that time, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking like 1969, 1970. That's when all the when I was a kid, my mom would give me like a buck and go down to the liquor store. We there we call them liquor stores in California. It's just a little market. Here, um, they don't have anything called a liquor store. If you tell them liquor store, people think you're going to buy liquor. Um, but yeah, she'd give me a buck, and I'd go down to the corner market, and I'd buy some candy, and I'd buy a hot rod magazine or a choppers magazine. At 9 years old, and I just sit and stare at those magazines constantly. Try to draw the stuff that I saw in the magazines, and try to uh, copy the paint jobs that I saw in those magazines on my bicycles. I remember thinking that I can metal flake my bike because I have this glitter in this cup. All I got to do is make sure the paint is wet and sprinkle the glitter over it. That's as close as I got to metal flake at that time. But I saw this candy pink chopper in a magazine one time when I was about 10 years old. Well, we had just painted our bathroom pink. So there was a little bit of paint left over. So I ended up taking my bike all apart and then painting the bike pink. It didn't quite have the same effect, but in my eye, I kind of squint your eye and kind of thought, yeah, my bicycle looks like that pink chopper. But yeah, so yeah, a long time to be painting. And yeah, it's finally time to hang it up, I think.
Yeah, you had mentioned like back in the day that people used to flake out like their boats.
Mm-hmm.
Do people still do that now? Do you know if people still do that?
Yeah, yeah, they still do it. You got a lot of guys, especially race cars and stuff that use wraps because they're going to crash them and everything else. But there are still some guys that insist on the authentic custom paint job. They want the metal flake, they want the candy graphics um, on their boat, on their cars, on their race cars, their choppers, whatever. They want that authentic thing that even if they're 35 years old, well, they grew up looking at their dad's stuff and their grandpa's stuff from back in the day, and that's what they want. So yeah, there's still a lot of guys that are still doing the real custom paint. You know, that's what it said on my sign. I used to have up my shop. It used to say real paint, real custom paint. And then underneath the my name, it said, "I'll make you famous." You know,
Oh, that's awesome. I
yeah.
remember a while back you had sent me a link of a video of you had sent me first like photos of this motorcycle you were painting, and then there was like a YouTube video of this lady who had gotten her, I think it was like a bagged motorcycle.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That one was pink. Um, yeah, she crashed that bike.
Oh, no way. Dude,
Yeah,
that bike looked dope in the video. I remember she
yeah,
was so happy.
yeah. They took that bike to Texas to some big show out in Texas, and they were out riding it around, and I guess somebody pulled out in front of her, from what I heard. I don't know whatever happened to that.
Man. Yeah, and then there was another car you had done. It was more of a like a race car. That you did for a customer. It was like I remember you sent me some photos. It was like a before and after.
Yeah,
Um, man, that's cool. Yeah, one thing I always loved about your paint jobs is a combination of the colors. You know
yeah,
how
yeah.
how
That's
how, how do you juggle with that now, having done so many paint jobs throughout, your career, that you still find a way to keep it fresh? Like every time you come out with like a new build, it's like the paint job, it's always different, but it goes together so good.
Yeah, I don't know because before I paint something, I never know where I'm going with it. When I'm getting it ready, when I'm sanding it, when primering it, I'll think about it in my head a little bit, but I won't really know until I start laying the tape. Once I start laying the tape on something and pick out that first color that I'm gonna paint this section this color, and then it just kind of just goes and flows. But that's one thing people have always said is the use of color. Um, I don't realize I'm doing it, but I guess when people see it, man, I would have never thought those colors go together, but it really looks good on that. Um, yeah, so yeah, I'm just lucky, you know.
Yeah, and as far as the colors, is it more, do you like, let's say when you're thinking about it, are you thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do like two colors or three and that's it? Or as you're laying down the tape, you just kind of just keep adding more colors as you go?
Yeah, I think if I'm doing a complete something and the customer says just do what you want, I'm already right away thinking six colors, a minimum. I'm already going six colors. I may go eight colors, nine colors, but I'm already starting off with six colors in my head because I just I want every job I do to really be nice, you know. And I tell these guys with the bikes, I tell them, I go, dude, when I'm done with this bike, you'll be able to pull it up into any local bar bike show and pull right into the show and enter. And they always do, you know. So yeah, I'm already thinking like outside the box before I even, you know, start the job. Because most of the time, that's what people tell me. They'll come in here and I go, I really don't know what I want. I want it blue, and I kind of want it like this, and I kind of want it like that. And by the time they leave, they just go, you know what? Just do whatever you think is best. And that's what I do. You know, they don't they don't even try to tell me what they want anymore. They just said, just do. I know whatever you do, I'm gonna like. So you do what you want to do, and that's what I do. You know.
Man, that's awesome. And how do you find the time to have that energy? As far as like, you're doing motorcycles, you're doing a 101 scale, and then you still find some time to build model cars, you know?
Yeah. That's well, lately, I've been this last couple of years, um, I really, it's really worn down on me. It's kind of what kind of pushed me more into thinking, I think it's time to retire. Um, I used to have a lot of energy where I'd work on this and that and this, and then I'd end up, with a model kit for the rest of the night, doing whatever. Um, but yeah, it's there's no more than the love to do this stuff. It's the only thing because it's not the money. I guarantee it's not that because I don't have any money. I have enough money to pay my bills, so it's never been the money. It's always been for the love of doing stuff. And what I really like is I'll see I'll because I'll look at YouTube or I'll look at what's the other one called? Not TikTok.
On Instagram or
No, not Instagram. Maybe it is TikTok. Yeah, I guess it's TikTok.
Mhm.
But I'll look at that when I'm just sitting here bored, and I'll run across like cars cruising around that I painted. Um, my 67, which is this one up here. I don't know if you can see that big picture of that 67 Impala. That was my car, and I sold it a few years ago. Well, a You know who Tingles is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Out in Texas, right?
yeah, yeah. Tingle sent me a video. He says, "Hey, I saw your car, and it was out in Las Vegas, cruising around by the casinos, and that's always really neat to me to see, something that I painted, somebody else enjoying it, and it still looks like really good. They've the car looks like it was just painted yesterday, and it's a you know 8-year-old paint job on it. So, stuff like that. And but yeah, the money is not the deal. It's the love. I love to paint. You know, I always have, and I'll paint till the end. It'll probably be just model cars and little side stuff here and there. Skateboards or whatever. Man cave type stuff. People like to hang up. Um, but yeah, I'll always be painting, even though
Yeah,
my
I wanted to shout out Freddie, H-Town Model Shop, because he did
oh
a
yeah,
replica of that 67.
oh yeah, I bought it.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, because I remember that car, the car you had. And I remember him telling me one day, like, hey, check this out. I'm working on this build. Don't say nothing kind of thing.
Right?
And then he was like, "Oh, it's a replica of Gary Seed's is 67." And I was like, "Man, that looks so spot on. Like
Oh,
it
it
looks it
was
looks so
awesome.
good." Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, I couldn't have done it. The detail that he was able to put in that model car, um, I would have had a heck of a time trying to do as good a job as he did on this one. And it looks awesome. It's sitting up there on the top shelf. Um, there's another guy in Canada that built one too. He sent me pictures of that one.
Oh
Same
man,
paint job on it.
that's cool. Yeah, it must have been crazy to see your car out in Vegas. I wonder if the person that lives out there, or they would just happen to just take your car out there for a
Well,
cruise.
no, it's out there. A guy named Mike owns it now. I actually talked to him after I saw the video that Tingle sent me, and uh, he lives in Vegas. He's I don't remember. He's in a car club. I can't remember the name of it. Originals or something like that. But he was telling me, he goes, man, I love the paint job on it. The paint job still looks like nice, and he's got it all looking really good. He put it in a show in, I think it was Arizona lowrider car show and the Las Vegas lowrider car show. He put it in both of those, and in one of those, it got a third place out of I guess this class, which was pretty good because I built that car to drive. I didn't build it as a show car. I built it to drive it, and I'd get out here on the freeway and drop that thing to an inch from the ground and drive that thing all day long at 70 miles an hour. It just ran so good.
Man, that's so dope. I just like picture you like whenever you say 1 inch off the ground, I'm like, damn, that must have been so dope
Oh
cruising in
yeah,
that thing.
yeah.
That's awesome. Right now I was flipping through the mag real quick, and
Uh-huh.
one ad and this is something that even a friend brought up to me. Big Kid Enterprises.
Oh yeah,
From,
Dennis.
from looking at the ad in the magazine that I have right here, this one right here, there was always here, sorry. There
Oh,
was
I got
always like a section where it said like if you send in, I think it was like $1.50, that they would send you like a catalog.
right.
And it was like the catalog to pretty much show you like all the different things that they sold, because this is like before websites. This was more of a mail order service if you lived, far away from the area. And I remember my friend mentioning that to me. He says, "Dude, I remember like getting that, ordering and getting that catalog a long time ago when I was a kid, and I would have my sister like order stuff for me because she was older. She would help me like get my stuff from Big Kid Enterprises." And he was like, now we need to hunt down that that catalog.
Um,
Did you ever see that catalog back in the day?
yeah, I'm, this is a long shot. I might have that catalog still. Um, I got a box down here that I'd have to dig through. Um,
Okay. That would be crazy if you find
yeah,
it. I don't know.
it,
I'm very curious to see the pages just to see like what my friend was talking about in that catalog, you know?
right. Well, I lived right around the corner from Big Kid Enterprises.
Man, tell us. All right.
Yeah,
I want to know more because to me, Big Kid Enterprises always seemed like a mysterious because I don't know too much about it. Like, who owned it or the backstory too much. And that's always been something like I just love their logo and everything. And I was always like, man, I wonder how it must have been back in the day with
yeah.
that company.
No, it was cool. Um, his name's Dennis. I don't know his last name, but Dennis owned Big Kids Enterprises, and I want to say originally it was more of a toy shop, like a hobby shop. I remember when I first went in there, he had a lot of Power Ranger stuff, and then it kind of grew into model car stuff. And he had this one kid. Kid was probably 16 or 17 years old, and he knew how to make cars hot. Well, Dennis saw that and figured out a way to make a dollar on it. And they were taking 64 Impala kits and cutting up the frames and the chassis and making little T's and little tiny motors and stuff for them and making them hot. And he was selling these cars for like $300. This is back in the 90s, which was a lot of money. But there were guys, kids all over the states buying these things, and he didn't like Pegasus hobbies for some reason. I remember that, and that gold car. I want to say it was that gold car and that 62 Impala that you showed me in the magazine when you first started this.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Um, well, Dennis had given me like some parts uh to put on these models. I remember if it was the pumps or maybe it was the wheels. I don't remember what it was, but he wanted me to mention Big Kid Enterprises in the magazine article because Lowrider they actually went to my house and shot that. Nathan Trillo, um, he came to my house from Lowrider Bicycle and shot that in my model car room that I had there. And well, anyways, so Nathan's asking me questions, what color is this? What color is that? What wheels are these? This and that as he's taking pictures. And I told him, uh, Big Kid Enterprises. And well, when he got back to Lowrider Bicycle, and I don't know if he wrote the article or this other guy, Saul, wrote the article. But in the article, it said I bought all my parts from Pegasus. And man, Dennis was pissed off about that. He thought that I told him Pegasus, and I didn't tell him Pegasus because at that time Pegasus was like
Yeah,
way.
I found it. You're right.
Oh,
Keep going, and I'll pull it up in a bit. But no,
oh,
go for
okay,
it.
yeah. Well, I think Nathan and Saul. know the name Pegasus. And when they were just writing, I don't think they were really thinking about it. They just automatically assumed Pegasus hobbies. But I hardly ever went to Pegasus because Pegasus was either in Whittier, where they used to have an old shop, and then they had another shop in Montclair. And it was just a drive just to go get model parts. I'd always go right around the corner from my house, right to Dennis's shop. And so I know I told them Big Kid Enterprises, but in his head, he had a rivalry with Pegasus, which I don't think Pegasus even cared anything about him, but he seemed to care a lot about Pegasus. And yeah, he was really mad. He was mad when I went to the hobby shop. But what the hell is this?
Yeah, like, hey, dude, come on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, so it's on this issue for anybody who has the magazine. This is the cover, and this is the one that also has Armando Flores, the local 64.
Right.
And that's the one I just brought up in the beginning of the podcast. So it does say photos by Nathan Trujillo,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
then it does
Nathan.
say text by Sal Vargas.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So
See.
so like towards the end of the article, it does say, watch, I'll see what I'll quote what he wrote. He writes, Gary could not put any regular type of wheel on the machine. He just had to have the best for his deuce. So he popped into Pegasus Hobby in Whittier, California, and bought a set of Dayton's and tires.
Yeah. Yep. See. Now I have never bought any Dayton's out of Pegasus. You know,
Dang,
I mean,
that's
I've
crazy.
been to Pegasus lots of times, but at that time I was only going to. David Garcia used to work at that Pegasus in Whittier.
Hmm.
You know, so when I did go to Whittier, it was only to see David and hang out there for a little bit. But I don't think I've ever bought anything out of that store. I've bought stuff out of the one in Montclair years later. But yeah, so I told them, I know I told them Big Kid Enterprises, but he's probably so used to writing Pegasus during that time that he just wrote Pegasus in there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
as far as like Big Kid Enterprises, um, do you remember like how long it lasted? Like how long were they in business until they decided like, just to end the operation?
well, that was kind of weird because originally he was over in Carson, right off the 110 freeway. That's the first time I ever went to that shop, and that's when he had a lot of toys. It was a lot of toys, but I heard about a hobby shop over there, so I stopped in there. And next thing I knew, he was right around the corner from my house. And at that time, I lived in Harbor City, so he was either in Harbor City or Torrance, because that's sort of a borderline right there. Yeah, I think it was more Torrance, but and I want to say that I know he was there for maybe 3 years, 3 or 4 years, not really that long. I know a couple of the guys that worked for him were like ripping him off and stuff too. I don't know if that and kind of a fact that really nobody knows is Dennis was I think he was a Satan slave, which was a motorcycle club in the Los Angeles area back in the day. And I want to say they were patched over by the Hells Angels. So I don't think he was in that club or in that lifestyle at that time. But Yeah, not too many people knew that. But he was a nice guy. He was cool. He just got pissed off at me that one time. I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I
No,
wouldn't have
that's a
done it on.
trip.
Yeah,
No, yeah. I mean, I could see how you're like, hey, what the heck?
yeah.
And
What? Why are you mad at me?
for real.
Because they had actually got the magazine before I did.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
and I walked in there and was like getting stared down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking,
Yeah, you
what?
got some explaining to do,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, because like this issue here, this is like 96, and their logo, it has the 63 Impala with the copyright little with the little circle, and it says 96 right there. And I always wondered like who drew that for them. That little 63 just hit it looks like it's hitting like three-wheel motion
yeah.
on
I
the
don't know. Yeah, yeah. I don't know who drew that.
yeah,
Yeah,
bro.
I remember the logo. Um, it's not it's not nice enough that for David Garcia to have drawn it. So
Yeah.
I don't know who might have drew that, but it was all over the place. It's kind of weird. I don't know if I have one. Let me see. Um, I got something up here. Give me just a
Okay.
sec.
Let's see. Let's check it out. Real quick, as you're looking for that, I want to just mention the this show that's going to be happening next year. So this is check it out, guys. Left Coast Scale Classic going down. This is going to be the first annual. It's going to be happening next year, 2026. It's going to be April 25th at the Ventura County Fairgrounds, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Model car display and hobby swap meet. Admission is $25. For more info, check out leftcoastScaleClassic.com. This is going down next year, guys. I got the little flyer right here. And I'm also putting these flyers, copies that I have in the orders as well. So, all right, Gary, we're back.
Okay. Well, it's not Big Kid Enterprises, but I did run across this Respect Hydraulics. Okay, and it's a hot hydraulic hopping kit. Got a chassis in there, motors. It's it's got the trees. It's got I don't know what that is. I've never opened this. It's all sealed. It's got a switch box, and I guess it slides under a '64 Impala AMT kit.
Damn, that's so crazy. This is the first time I'm ever seen this. I've never seen that before. I didn't even know that existed.
No, neither did I.
That's crazy. Yeah, don't open it. Keep it sealed. That's so awesome.
It's got a price tag on it. 24.99.
Dang, at that time, man,
I wish
24.99. What's the year? It shows it?
it doesn't show the year.
Oh, okay, okay.
It might show the year on this booklet. There's a booklet inside.
Okay.
I guess
Uh,
it shows you how to hook it up.
yeah, the instructional magazine or booklet right there.
Yeah, but it comes with two 130 motors, two push button switches, two C bars, two frame reinforcements, two gears, one drilled switch box, one washer, one 7.2 volt battery connector, six screws, 5 foot of hydraulic test line, 10 foot of wire, and 3 foot wire cover.
Man, that's dope. It comes with a lot of stuff right there.
Yeah, yeah, in this little bag. You want this? I'll send it to you.
Nah, for real?
Yeah,
Dude. I mean, you don't have to, man, but that'd be
no.
crazy.
Yeah, this be part
That
of
that
your
that man, I've never seen that before.
I've never seen it either.
How do you where'd you get it from? Or
I got it from a buddy of mine, Tim, who
okay.
saw it at a model show.
What the heck?
Probably, I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if that was being made out here, like if somebody was packaging that and selling it from here or out of
Oh yeah,
state.
yeah, it's definitely not from here,
Yeah,
and it was probably shipped. It was probably mail ordered, and
that's
I mean,
crazy.
it's got to be 20 or more years old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's got to be from the 90s because
Wow. Even just the artwork alone like looks pretty cool, like the whole display right there.
right,
Dang, even is that a hat? Like the
yeah,
guy doing the peace sign?
yep, yep, like a baseball cap. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, no, man, you're welcome to it if you like it.
Oh man. Yeah, man. I'll take it, but man, I feel kind of bad because you're like showing it to me and then you're like, here, you can have it. That's
No, no, you can.
crazy.
It. I put it up there. I just figured it was kind of model car history type stuff. Um,
Yeah,
so
that needs to be like preserved right there for
right,
sure. Yeah, don't open it. Dude, that's so crazy. Nah,
it's
it
it's
looks awesome.
yeah, it's definitely old school.
Yeah, no, it is. It looks very, very 90s like
Yep.
style. I wonder, they must have been like, all right, you know, hopping and everything's like pretty hot right now. We got to come out with our own kits. Like, what
Oh
if
yeah,
we came out with this, with their
right.
version?
So there was respect hydraulics, and then there was hopping hydros. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure he made kits also.
Yeah.
And then you had Dennis, and there's no telling, that was all in California. I don't know
Mhm.
if respect might have been that hobby shop in Compton.
Mm.
Now that
You
I
know
think about
what?
it,
I wonder it sounds familiar if they were featured in one of the Lowrider Bicycle magazines, like the
yeah,
store.
yeah, they were at the swap meet
Okay.
in Compton at the old I think it was the old Sears or something like that. But
Hmm.
me and my buddy Ron used to go to that show all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I'm gonna have to look through my magazines because let me see. Oh, okay, okay. Because right now I'm flipping through one of the mags and they are mentioning but this one's called GNS Hydraulics in
oh
Compton.
yeah, it was GNS. That's what it was.
Okay, okay, okay. I
Yeah,
wonder if it was them. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, man. Now knowing that, you're gonna make me go down a rabbit hole trying to figure out more of that. Like,
yeah. Well,
where's that coming from?
hopefully, maybe one of your subscribers is hip to that, and they'll
Yeah, I wonder if somebody.
comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna also have to ask like Armando or dude, that's crazy. That is an old school piece right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I said, I've had it for 2 or 3 years,
Hmm.
and it's just sitting there. And I know you have a big love for the history of all this model cars and lowrider model
No,
cars.
yeah, man.
It's, it'd go perfect in your collection of stuff.
No, I'll preserve it for sure. Man, it'd be something like I don't know, maybe in the future like a presentation, having like like certain timepieces that
Right.
are with some history behind it. That'd be
Yeah.
pretty sick.
Well, this will make you start hunting down big kid stuff and then GNS stuff and
Yeah, yeah. Because even like that, earlier, like that catalog I was just mentioning, the Big Kid Enterprises, that seems to be something that, it's like I've asked people, no one has it, or they kind of remember it, but not really. And I'm very curious, like of wanting to like see it, just to like flip through the pages, or even if it's just an image of it, like
right,
a PDF or something. Um, because yeah, those are like a lot of pieces. I feel like even just the magazines alone is like a time capsule right there, you know.
well there I remember seeing it and it seems to me that it was like 4 or 5 pages
Hmm.
stapled together. Um, I don't remember if I saw it in my stuff or if I just remember it from 30 years ago. But I have a box down here that's got a lot of stuff, um, stuff like that. I'm gonna dig through it and see if see. I might even have it. If I have it, you can have it. But I can't promise you that for sure that I have it. But I'll look.
No, thank you. Thank you. That would be crazy. That'd be crazy if you find it. I'll be like, what? I'd have to do like would have to do a live stream, like flipping through it, even though it would be like a little bit of pages, but I think it would be pretty dope for that. But
You gotta see if Dennis is still around and get him on
yeah,
your.
I wanted to shout out Dennis Matthews, because right now, you're talking about Dennis from Big Kid Enterprise, but Dennis Matthews, he has sent me a link to your other channel, because
Oh,
you had
okay.
I wanted to bring up your other YouTube channel regarding like 164 scale stuff.
Yeah, 164 diecast newbie, and
Yeah. What made you want to start that other channel?
well, about a year and a half ago, I built models for forever. About a year and a half ago, I got into the little 164th diecast stuff, which you see all around me. It's this whole room is full of this stuff. And I just thought, I have the Hanging with Mr. G Seeds channel. Um, and I've shown my Hot Wheels on that channel, but those guys didn't seem all that, excited about it. Um, so I thought I'd quit boring them and I'd do a Hot Wheel channel for the Hot Wheel guys. So yeah, it just kind of led me into that. Yeah, Dennis is really cool. Dennis might be here this weekend. It's his girlfriend or wife or somebody's birthday, and they're coming up here to celebrate her birthday. And said he might drop by here. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. I've met him
Yeah,
a few
yeah, man,
couple of
that's
times.
awesome. That's
Yeah, I've
awesome
met him.
if he rolls through. Yeah, I've yeah, every time he comes out here to California, I and he's in the area, get to hang out with them as well. And then I've hung out with them out in like at the NNL. Actually driven together out to the NNL West from LA all the way up north and back. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, he's pretty nice guy. Um, you know, when I'm at Acme show, I'll run into him there, and we'll talk a little bit. And then out of the blue, he sent me some 164 diecast because he's into that too. He's into the models, but he's also into these diecast cars. Matter of fact, hold on a sec.
Yeah,
Um,
bust out. Let's see. Let's check it out right now. How's everybody doing? Let me give a shout out right here. We got Steve Courtney. What's up, man? How you doing? Builds by George Juarez. What's up, man? Left Coast Model Car Builds. Reds Scale Scrapyard. What's up, dude? Thank you guys for being here. Model Car 1589. Scale Model Cars all the way in Hawaii. What? And Slowly Models. Casey, what's up, man? All right, Gary.
all right, cool. So I mentioned to you that I've got a model car that I started for you because you had sent me those decals, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll build a model. That's when Armando was having that Corvair uh, show, so I ended up getting a Corvair, and I got it kind of late, so I didn't get a chance to finish it for that actual show because I was going to send it out there and ask Armando to give it to you because I put scale riders all over it and I thought it might look kind of neat up on your shelf. Um, but at the same time, I did a little scale riders Hot Wheel for you. Where
Oh, what? That's crazy. Let's see.
I think you see it says scale
Yeah,
riders right
yeah.
here.
Damn, it fit on that panel so good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then I took it apart and painted it. Um,
dude. That's awesome. Let's see.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to send you that too, so you can just put it up on your shelf or whatever. You know, it's just
Thank
scale
you.
models.
Man, that's gonna be awesome to have. That's like, a one of a kind piece right there, Gary Seeds. Man, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the model looks really cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, can you show us? Let's
yeah.
check it out.
All right, let me
All right, all right.
flip this thing around. I don't know
Yeah.
why my thumb's right there because I'm not even holding it there. I guess I am.
All right.
Well, all right, let me
That's all good. Take your time. Take your time. We got it. Here
all
you
right.
go. Show us the Corvair.
So there's the Corvair scale rider. I put the engine in the back. I didn't do a lowrider because everyone else was doing a lowrider. So I thought I'd do something I didn't think you would have in your collection, which would be a drag car or a road race car. But that's it. I put a motor in the back. I chopped the top, shortened the roof. I still got to build the interior. I got a JPS wheels, 3D wheels on it. And then, of course, this is all paint work. Just the lettering is the decal, but the rest of it's all paint. This is another one I'm working on. And I'm working on this 64 at the same time, too. But yeah, I'll eventually get caught up on all this stuff. Yeah. But I just figured stick it up on your shelf. It says scale riders on it, and people know what that is. And here I'll kind of walk you around the rough
Man,
stuff.
so sick. I was being quiet just because I wanted the camera to focus on there, but I'll chime in a bit. Show us your room right here.
Yeah, this is a room I built. I built out here in the garage, um, 8 months ago, I guess, 6 months ago. This is a painting that I did. I did that for my son Sammy, and of course I got more cars. I'm a big Chevy truck fan, so I have a lot of those that I buy. Of course, the model car stuff. Then magazine stuff is up there, and more cars. Then I got some cars down here. Those are models. More stuff over here. Got a big 64 body I'm going to paint for my son. His father-in-law back in the 70s and early 80s was a big name in the hydraulic world. I knew him when I was 16 years old, and we all looked up to him. His name is Frank McGee. They called him the Mad Hopper out of Hawaiian Gardens. And he's hop for auto hydraulics over in Downey. But oh, it's so hot here lately. Today I went and bought a new air conditioner for the model car room. And then other models stuff up here. Oh, there's that 67 I got from Freddie. I ripped the chassis out because I'm going to switch the wheels to Astro Supremes, hopefully by lowrider model car parts, because he's got the best looking ones, I think, and that's what the car needs. So this is more Hot Wheel stuff. This is stuff that I paint. I paint all that stuff there. Take them apart and paint them. It's just a hobby, something to do. Got a whole a big rig full of lowriders. And of course, it's got the Gypsy Rose in the first spot. It's a car my buddy Walt painted back in the day. But yeah, I accumulated quite a collection of diecast cars. Then, of course, we got down to scale. masterpieces and scale writers right there. There's some other stuff I painted. Yeah, yeah, just a room full of stuff. But yeah, that's uh that's what this room is. It's my little model car getaway.
Man, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing right there. I felt like that was like an exclusive right there, seeing like the room, your workspace.
Right,
The Corvair, I love it. I love the colors. Like you said, it's something different. And
right,
also I like how when you put the Skill Riders decal, how after that it says racing team.
right. Yeah, that's what
That's dope. I didn't
yeah,
even think about that. Dang.
yeah, got the scale riders racing team on it.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is pretty neat. And even just that layout, like the other models there, a work in progress
yeah,
right there. Those look pretty cool right there. You know, just see even just staring at that like that, it's inspiring. It makes you be like, man, I can't wait to work on my build. Right now, this is my Corvair. This is where I have it at right now.
let me see
It's
it.
it just has Orion silver
Oh, okay,
as like a base.
nice.
So I started to just do like just kind of really minor customizations, getting rid of, smoothing it out and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So I'm still working on this. I was late on mine as well. I didn't have it ready for Armando's presentation, but once I have this card done, then I'm gonna be like, all right, here you go, Armando. When
right,
whatever you want to do with it, you want to showcase it or whatever, put it on the shelf, put it in the collection with all the other Corvairs, you
right.
know. But yeah, this is one I'm having fun with this one right now,
Yeah,
going on, doing the live streams, building, working with it. But man, just seeing like your stuff like that, it's awesome. And then also like I didn't know how huge of a extensive collection you had of 164.
oh yeah,
Um,
we
I
got
I
got
have I have some stuff. I'm gonna look through some of my stuff because I gotta hook you up with some stuff that I have. I even have some that I painted. I never put them back together. I just painted the body. I think I
right.
was just experimenting with like wanting to spray, like something small and clear coat it just
Yep.
to see if I can do it with like House of Color. And yeah, I'm gonna send you some photos. I'm gonna see
All
what I
right,
got
cool. Heck yeah,
on my end. So that'll be pretty neat. Do you
yeah.
ever look at like some of the guys that 3D print things for like accessories for the 164 scale?
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the things I like are the gassers, like the old style drag race uh cars, the 55 Chevys and whatever. So I had bought in some 3D scale parts, front straight axles, some slicks, some front wheels, wheelie bars, stuff like that. And man, at that scale, the 3D printed parts are so fragile. I mean, they're so easy to break, and they're not cheap. I think I paid like I think I was into these parts like $80 by the time I, you know, bought all the parts I wanted. So I have them sitting here. I just haven't used them yet. But yeah, they got some really neat stuff. Motors, wings, wheels and tires. 3D printed for the. But I kind of want to fade away from the cars for now. Take a break from the diecast and get back into the model stuff because I
Yeah.
really let these 164 kind of take over my life. A
Hmm.
year and a half ago, I didn't have one car.
Oh no way.
Yeah, I didn't have one Hot Wheel, and I don't know how many I have now. I have a lot, and it's all
Yeah.
all been within the just over a year.
Yeah,
Really,
no, they get addicting for sure.
yeah, they're
No,
easy to buy. You
yeah.
know, just buy them up.
No, yeah. And you mentioned Lloyd Model car parts earlier, you
Right.
know. So now you know that that you've seen like the quality of the wheels and the different styles and everything that he's done. and that you've acquired, does it ever, make you kind of look at some of your old builds that you maybe go, man, maybe I might have to update the wheels, kind of like what you're gonna do with the model for that Freddie did?
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean his parts are super nice looking. He sent me a set of uh Astros, and he sent me a set of wire wheels that were just freaking awesome. So yeah, sometimes I would look at my cars and think, just like Freddie's car. Freddie did such a bitch job on it. But he had the Pegasus Astral Supreme on it, but it's too it's out of scale. It looks more like a 15-inch, and it really should be more of a 14-inch. Where Gavin's wheels, once I put them on there, man, it's going to fit the car so nice and just complete that model. Now, before I tore this apart, I offered this car back to Freddie. I said, Freddie, I'm gonna do something to this car. If you want it back, let me know. Oh, no, no. I said, dude, I'm not going to charge you anything. I'll just send it back to you. Now, I've bought models from people before, um, and I'll usually keep them for about a year or so, and I'll just send them back. I'll just give them back to them. I don't. It's kind of hard to have somebody else's model in your collection when you're a builder, because the first thing people do is they come in and they look at it and they go, "Oh, that's awesome! Did you build that?" And you got to go, "No, I didn't build that one. I built these over here." So but no, I mean, I've had friends over the years that like needed money and stuff like that, and don't really want to ask for it, so they'll sell you something. So I'll hold on to it for a little bit, but then I always send them back. I'll just send it back to them. So I asked Freddie before I tore this car apart, "If you want it back, man, I'll send it back to you." And he goes, "No, no, no, it's yours, it's yours." So I went ahead and tore the chassis out. Figured I'd build another chassis for it and get it to slam on the ground, sit flat on the ground, because that's when I had my Impala. That's how I used to park it all the time. It was always laid, and so I'll end up laying it down and putting some of Gavin's Astro Supremes on it with his tires, because yeah, they're just awesome.
Man, you had mentioned that, when someone asks you, hey, that looks great. Did you do that? And you're like, oh, I've had that feeling a couple times in the past. And this is like the first time I experienced that was in high school. The last time I had built a model car was like in like eighth grade, and it was a 67 Impala, the AMT kit. And when I built that, at that time I was like, all right, this is like the best model I will ever build. This
Right,
is like me taking my time doing the details and everything, and it's not gonna get any better than this.
right,
And so I built that model, and I never, I stopped building models for a while, and I still have that model till this day. And I remember like when I was in high school, there was this kid who I knew, and I was already a senior by this time, and as seniors, like he was in this I, man, I can't remember, but it was somewhat of a like an Air Force, like military kind of course he had to take because
right.
he wanted to get into that field, and the high school was like offering, I guess like a period that you can go. So I guess one of his projects was he wanted to like present like a helicopter that he airbrushed and painted. And and I remember seeing him in the early morning walking to school carrying this like helicopter. And I was like, or this aircraft, and I was like, oh man, that's dope. Where'd you get that? Did you do that? And he's like, yeah, yeah. And I was like, wait, what? You painted that? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, with the airbrush or spray can? He was like, airbrush. And when he said airbrush, I just thought, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Like I was blown away. I was like, hey, I used to do models back then. Do you think if I give you a model, if I buy a model and give it to you, can you paint it for me? And he was like, yeah, sure, that's cool. And I remember bringing him the model, and I don't know if I told him the color I wanted, or if I was just kind of like just use what you have, or whatever. But it took a long time to get the model back. It
Right,
wasn't because I wasn't like bugging him or anything. Time just passed. I know he was busy and I was like into other things, but then just he just walked up to me one day, was like, "Hey, here, I have the model done here. I gotta go though, or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, nice. Like, what do I owe you?" He's like, "No, no, no, no. Like, here you go. You can have it." So then I get it and he just jams. And I'm like, all right, let me open this thing. And like the body was painted red. It looked like kind of like a candy red. And the like the whole chassis was like I think he was trying to go for chrome, but it was more like a silver
right.
color that I came out with. And then it was just like a black interior.
Yeah,
And it was this was a Revell, a 64. And I put it together back at the house. I remember going to the hobby store, I bought the glue, and I just kind of glued everything and put it together. And then I even bought the little case to
yep,
enclose it with, and I had it on my shelf. And I would always look at the car. I always liked looking at the different angles of it, and just being happy, like, oh, cool. I finally have a nice Impala, like a painted Impala, on my display. But then the more that time passed, I was like, it just didn't sit right with me because I was like, I didn't paint it, you know?
right.
I just didn't paint it or whatever. Or friends would see it. Hey, that's cool. Like, when did you do that? Oh, somebody painted. I just glued it together, kind of
Yeah,
deal. So then later I just put it away, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna mess with this. And I remember there was a time that Revell started to release some I believe it was a 63 Impala that already came painted.
right.
And
Yep,
it had like I think on the hood, like I don't know if it was like or on the trunk, like a female like decal or something that
yep,
was like on it. And I remember buying that too and putting it together, and it was the same feeling.
yeah,
Like, oh, I didn't even, I just assembled it. I didn't even paint it or anything. So, I had to put those away, but then I think it was like years later, finally, I took out that model that friend of mine in high school painted, and I remember that one in a 61 that I had an AMT put away together. That was kind of the start of me getting back into it again. This is possibly, I don't know if it was like 2013 or 2014 of me like getting back into model building. And then I remember stripping that model that he painted and just, going on YouTube and researching like, how to paint a model car and all this, and then just going from there. And it wasn't until I want to say like 2017 was when I met Armando. So there was some years where I was kind of on my own, doing my own thing, and I didn't really know anybody who was like building the models until, I started to meet people and then starting to go to the shows.
right.
Uh, but but yeah, having those models, and I was like, man, I didn't even paint this. You know,
Yeah,
it
that's
felt it
it's
felt kind of crazy at that time.
yeah. For me, it's hard to have um somebody else's model sitting because I got buddies that they want to gift you, a car they built. But I tell them, I go, man, you know, either end up giving it back to you or I'll sell it on eBay. So just keep it, you know, because it's just for me, it's a weird feeling to have, you know, somebody else's car sitting amongst all my cars. You know, to me, it should mean more to them than it does to me. You know, so I'd rather than just keep them because I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't sit right with me to have somebody else's car. But I'll hold it, and eventually I'll offer it back to them. And usually they go, "Oh yeah, you don't want it," and I go, "No, it doesn't fit my stuff, or you built it, so you should have it," type of thing. So, but I'm
Yeah,
always
it's
selling or giving my cars away though. You know.
It's always kind of when you think about kind of like having someone's model, just thinking about how many hours, how much time passed that they spent, or just them thinking like the ideas of what they want to do, what they want to add to this build, that that it's just like it's like there's a part of their soul in that car, you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah.
It's
Because
definitely.
as a builder, you sit here and you build, and you're done for the night. You go back in the house, you're still thinking about it. You're still, when you're trying to go to sleep, and you're still thinking about it. You go to work the next day, you're still thinking about it. There's a lot of thought in these models besides just the work and stuff. And yeah, it becomes, there's a little bit of you in those models, even if it's just time thinking about it. You know, like rarely do I put down a model and don't think about it until the next time I pick it up. You know, I go to sleep thinking about, oh man, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. With that model.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's always it feels weird like taking time off and not doing anything. Even if like if you're not building, if you're always, in communications with a friend that does it or something, or sharing photos, or even just researching on the internet, it's always there's always a connection right there
Right.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah. They end up with so much thought in them. And then the thing is, you start on the next one and you forget all about that one, and it starts all over on the next model.
Yeah, I remember from one of the previous podcasts that we had done, you had said that the AMT, the 58 Impala, was like one of your favorite Impalas to do. And I think you mentioned it too on one of your YouTube videos as well. And every time when I get my hands on like a 58, the AMT one,
Right.
I love that it comes with the custom parts, like
Yep.
the extra bumpers and everything. But now I always think of you though. Like every time I get a 58, I go, "Oh, cool. This is like Gary Seeds is like one of his favorite models
Yep.
right here to build."
Yep. I've built that car more than any car I've built. You know, I built a lot of 57 Chevys. I built a lot of Impalas. I built a lot of other cars. But that 58, I probably built twice as many as those as any other car. I don't know why. You can do anything with it. You can make it a low rider, you can do it original, you can make it a hot rod, a drag car. They always look good. And that AMT kit always fits. The doors suck on it, so I always glue them shut. But everything else is just, it's a beautiful car, beautiful kit. It's been around forever.
Yeah,
No,
it's interesting. Like I know what you mean. Like the doors they're really not that great, but it's
no,
just interesting that they actually made it so for the doors to open. Like
right.
they gave you that feature on
Yep,
that. I was like, oh wow, because I remember buying during that time when I was buying that one too as a kid from one of the local hobby stores. It was either the choices was it was either buying the 62 Bel Air, the AMT,
yep,
the 59 Impala monogram, or that 58 Impala. And I think they started to get the 65 Impalas like later, but I think they were the monogram ones.
yep,
And man, everything else just seemed like either like a Chevy truck or like a Ford. They didn't really have that much big of a selection,
right.
when it came to it. But you know, going to the store and seeing one on the shelf, and it was like either $8 or $10. Like my choices was always like, all right, I got the 62 Bel Air the other day. Now I'm back here again. I got to get the 58. It was always those two that I was always like kind of which one should I get, But for
Right.
me the 62 Bel Air, the one where it showed the Bel Air uh, painted in blue with
Yep,
like that gray
yep,
backdrop, that to me was like the artwork that's been engraved in my mind so much. And And every time I pick up that box art or that kit and I look at that artwork, even though it's just a photograph of a model, it does take me back to
Oh
those
yeah,
times, you know?
yeah. And a lot of these kits, I'll run across kits, um, the box art, from when I was a kid. And I'll remember being in a hobby shop and looking at those kits, even at 11 and 12 years old. Because when I grew up, there was a hobby shop. I mean, I probably lived in the middle of three hobby shops within a half a mile of each other. There was just hobby shops everywhere. And I remember looking at all those drag cars and funny cars and kits. You know, Rarely did I ever buy one, but I would go in there and I would look at them all the time. There's one right by our junior high school. Stop in there all the time just to look at models.
Yeah, one of my friends, he had told me like even him like growing up, he used to see a lot of models at even like a lot the grocery stores.
Oh
They
yeah,
carry a lot of model kits.
yeah. Grocery stores had them. Drug stores had them. Five and dime stores. Uh, you had Zodi's and Kmart. They were everywhere at one time.
Yeah, I do remember Kmart like having them. And I remember when even like when Walmart started to show up in my city when they built this brand new Walmart and I remember they had a uh like where they had all the toys and then there was a section it was like model kits. And then they had this big old glass casing full of paint, all the rattle can paint that they had there that was for models. And that's where I kind of bought like the last couple kits that I built during like junior high when I took a pause to building.
Right?
And because at that time I didn't really know where else to buy a model kit from. The original model shop that I would go to, they were the hobby store was already closed. They were gone out of business. A lot of their business was also RC stuff, but they were completely gone. And there was a shop in Ventura on the other neighboring city. I just really wasn't. I was very unaware of it. I just knew it was like by a theater, but I was still a kid. I didn't. My parents we weren't really going out that way, and it was gonna be kind of hard for me to be like, "Hey, can you guys take me down there?"
Right.
To go to the store. Like, it would have been like, nah, what are you talking about? You know, but yeah, it's crazy. Like, I can imagine like back in the day, man, there must have been so many shops.
Oh, they were everywhere. They were everywhere. And then you had stores like Toys R Us and KB Toys and in malls and yeah, model kits were everywhere when I was growing up. And before that, my older brother, he built models. So yeah, I'd always look at his and break his, try to roll them and whatever and
Hmm.
bust them up, and then he'd come and bust me up.
Oh,
But
dang.
oh yeah, but yeah, they were always around, and I built models until I was about 13. You know, 13, maybe 14. But then I completely stopped until I was about 32 or 33. I got back into it.
When you got back into it, how long did it take for you to start like down a scale? Like when was that a thought?
Probably a year later. Yeah. But what it was I got back into it. Um, I didn't know anybody building model kits. It was just me, and so I went to a show because a guy Dominic Tony Dominic was his name. He told me about a show in Orange County, and so I went there and I checked it out, and that's when I realized that there were a lot of people building model kits, and but I still didn't know anybody building model kits. And I end up uh, at Big Kid Enterprises. I end up meeting Ron Potts, and he was kind of goofing around with models. I was a little bit more serious about the models, and but I told him, I go, you know what, we got to start a club. That way we can meet other model car guys. And so that's what I did. I started down the scale with Ron Potts, and and that led into meeting Manny, who led into meeting James and Bobby and Henry, and down the scale just kind of grew from there. But yeah, it was because I didn't know any other guys building models. You know, none of my friends built models. None of the guys I worked with built models. It was just me. And I thought, you know, if I could make a club, um, I could make some friends building models, and that's what I ended up doing.
Man, that's interesting. Who created the logo?
I did. Yep, I drew that. I was at work one day and just drew it on a piece of paper and showed it to the rest of the guys, and they all go, "Yeah, we like that." And that was it. That became the logo. We ended up printing some shirts. Me and Ron, we um, borrowed a 4-screen silk screen machine, and we ended up printing some shirts. Messed up a lot of shirts because neither one of us knew how to silk screen. And yeah, and that was our shirts down to scale.
Man, that's crazy. So like once you guys had the now, the members, the shirts, from then on it was just about like going to the shows and like, you know, participating, competing and just meeting other modelers.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was you know, now that I had a little group of guys to hang out with that were all pretty much my uh, age range. Um, we'd caravan or we'd all get in James' van and go to the shows. At that time, Armando had a masterpieces, so he had that club. I had my club, um, and yeah, that's where we'd go. That's when I met Armando for the first time. It was early '90s. Probably down at that San Diego show. I think I went to that San Diego show where when I got into lowrider bicycle, I I almost think that was before I started down the scale. Because I don't think there's anything mentioned in that article about down scale. There might be, but
I know
yeah,
I know there's an issue. I need to look for it, but I think there's one that is just a photograph of a it's like event coverage of a show. And I
yeah,
believe you guys are in one of the photographs right there with your
that
models.
was at the Peterson Museum. It's a black and white photo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the original guys right there. You can see me um leaning up against the back wall, and just as they took the picture, I looked down or something, but my head is pointing downward, and never fails. But yeah, that was at the Peterson Museum, and they used to have a show there every year. It was called the Meeting of the Modelers. It wasn't really a show; it was just a place for modelers to go hang out and just BS about model cars. They had tables for display tables, and yeah, it was pretty neat there.
Oh, that's cool. I wonder, like, like who started that and then when, why did it end at
I
that time?
almost, I almost think it was Alan Goldneck that started that. He also,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
you know
also,
what? I think you're right because I saw him not too long ago at a show a while
uh-huh.
back. And I remember him mentioning something about that, about the Peterson and other, I think he hosted other, like at other venues, right? Like
Yeah,
get
the
togethers.
Ontario. He used to do the Ontario show every year.
Dang, I need to reach out to him.
Yes.
Dang.
If you do, tell him I said, hey,
I will. No, I will. Yeah, because I still see him at shows out here. He's actively like going to different places and because he does a lot of the photography and
right?
he'll post a lot of stuff on Facebook with like different events, even if it's not like model car related, you know, he's at like car events and things like that. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely I'll let him know.
Yeah, cool.
Man, that's pretty interesting though. Like getting together right at the Peterson. When you guys would hang out and like just chat, would you guys also have access to go look at the cars at the Peterson
Oh
Museum?
yeah, yeah, because that was how that Peterson I think is a 3 story, and it was on the top story.
Hmm.
But in order to get to the top story, you had to walk through all the cars um, on a couple of floors,
Hmm.
and then you went upstairs. But yeah, we would just kind of take a break from the show and just go walk around the look at all the cars. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool place to have a meeting of the modelers. It was called. It was called the Mom Show.
Okay.
Meeting of the modelers.
Dang. And when you would go to these like get-togethers, would you just take like one model or would you take a bunch of them with you?
Um, I would usually take, you know, I would take anywhere from 5 to 10 models, depending on where I was going. You know, a big reason is if I go to a show, I kind of want to help the show by filling the tables. So next year more people will come. Because if they go to a show and there's very little models, people go, "Oh man, it wasn't a very good show." But if they come in and the tables are packed, you know, they it makes them more apt to come back again because they think, "Oh man, it was a good show, man. There's a lot of models at that show." Same thing with the car shows they have around here. You know, or cruise nights, or I forget what they call it out here. They car in or something like that. But I would show up to these just to support the show. You know, not that I knew anybody really. I would just go to help promote or to support them. Put another car in the car show parking lot. That's when
Dang,
I had my Impala.
it's crazy you say that because I really wasn't even thinking about that right now in that way of sense. Because you know, like whenever I've taken model cars to a show, like if I decide, because lately it's been kind of hard. Like I'm there vending, right? I book a booth, I'm selling product, and if I bring a model car, I might will bring one or two, and
Right.
that's it, right? Knowing that I have a lot more that have been completed, and I just have them in my closet, like tucked away at the top. And, you know, there was a time where I would build a model, I'd bring it to the shows, and then eventually I'd be like, all right, that's it. I'm not going to bring this one out anymore. It's done. Like next year I'll do something new, and then next year I'll do something new.
Right.
But right now, what you said, it makes me think, you know, you're right. It is another way of supporting because it's so true. Like if you see empty tables and not a lot of cars, then you do feel like, you know, and most people are gonna think like it's crazy how it is. We think, oh man, this wasn't a good show. Like
Right.
there wasn't that many models. And when you see packed tables to the point where they're like, we ran out of space and you know, we don't know where to put them,
Yep.
then that gets things exciting, especially for the next year. Where,
Right.
like you said, you know, you want to come back. Damn, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. It makes me think about like when you've been watching, let's just say like a boxer, like a professional boxer throughout his career, he's winning, 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 and he loses once, and we say, "Oh, that's it, he's done. His career's over." You know, Like that's it, and not even giving them another chance, you know?
Right.
That's crazy. So man, now I feel bad. Now I feel like, all right, next time when I go to a show, if I am gonna bring a model, I gotta bring out more than one, you know?
Yeah. It
Definitely.
just helps, fill the table and um because a lot of times these guys that put on these shows, you know, if they get like a bad review, they're probably not going to put on a show next year. If they have a good turnout and people are really jazzed about it and they're asking, hey, are you going to do this next year or two? You know, yeah, it just supports the show, and that's my whole. I like to support the shows. I like to support the hobby. I like to support the guys themselves. Um, yeah, even if it's a show I don't even want to go to, if I have enough people ask me, hey, you gonna go to that show? You know, I'll show up. I'll take some models and if I can, I'll put them on a display table. But if not, then I'll just um, enter them in the show and just fill up the tables.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the show I had mentioned earlier, this one is going down next year out here in Ventura. So this is the first time they're doing this event. So, this is one where there's going to be model cars. There's also going to be 164 scale cars. I
Hmm.
believe there are also going to be some 101 scale cars being showcased there.
Right?
Um, but yeah, this is just one of those shows, that definitely like everyone out here that's in the West Coast that attends a lot of the shows, this is another one we want to support, there's been a lot of modelers, that have been promoting it, mentioning it. It's not until April, but it's never time flies
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like you gotta already, be like promoting this because the time will come and then it's just like it's right around the corner
Yep.
and especially when you're inviting guests or just people from out of town to hopefully come out, you got to plan all this out. I've been mentioning in previous podcast episodes regarding going out to the Acme show, so I definitely want to come out to that with Armando and some other friends, so this way I'll get to see you out there and hang out with you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool because it's not too far from you, that show.
It's 6 hours.
Okay, all
Yep.
right, not too bad. It kind
Yeah.
of just reminds me of it's like for me like if I was going to like the NNL
Right.
West.
Yep.
So
Yeah. We used to make the go to the In and Out every year, and that was a 6 hour drive. But didn't phase us. We were going to the model show. You know, so yeah. And then they have a lot of vendors. You gonna do a table?
I will not at the Acme one. I think for this show being my first one going, I kind of just want to go for the experience to hang out with everybody, you
Sure.
know, because there are other modelers that I haven't met in person,
Right.
and we communicate online or through text or a phone call, but
Yep.
I never had the chance to meet in person.
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel stuck in one area where I can't leave or I'm busy.
Right.
I really just want to hang out, walk around, and I think by then I'll have some equipment, some stuff that I would want to record and hopefully do some one-on-one quick little interviews,
Yeah.
checking
Yeah.
out the place and just documenting the models and just the whole vibe, how it is, just to kind of let people know my experience or perspective of how the event was,
Yeah.
you know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd be very, very that's kind of what I'm looking forward to more is like seeing the cars uh just going and coming home inspired, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be fun, right
Yeah.
there. And it's
Yeah.
been a while. I mean, I haven't traveled anywhere. I haven't gone anywhere ever since, my daughter was born. Um, it's just been kind of more, just staying grounded and here everything local, like, just doing like just the local car model shows out here in the West Coast, and just just kind of keeping it chill. There's going to be a show in September here in Oxnard that I'll be vending at, and then at the NHRA museum there's going to be another model show there that I'll be vending at
Huh.
as well. So those will be like the only two shows that I'll be vending. But for that one out there in Acme, I would definitely just like to go just to participate, bring some models, and be more of a spectator or guest, like kicking
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun to do something like that. But but hey Gary, I think this was fun. We're gonna wrap up the episode. Do you
All
want to
right,
give out
cool.
any shout outs or plug in your YouTube channels as well?
Um, well, yeah, hanging with Mr. G Seats. Always check that one out if you guys would. My buddy Tommy Moore, he's got a channel. He's does some really nice builds, and of course Dennis might be here this weekend. Give him a shout out. And yeah, all the
Nice.
guys, David and Armando and Dave DeBaca and all everybody, you know. So I don't know. I could go on and on and on. I
Yeah.
talked to Jason Blue Ox, and he was telling me that he may be doing a show with you too.
Yes, yeah, I reached out to Jason, so he's definitely gonna be on soon. So next week I'm gonna throw it out there. Jarvis Malone.
Oh,
I'm
it's
hoping.
Jarvis. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, this will be the first time, but I've been talking to him. I've been seeing him at some of the shows and stuff. We've been
Uh-huh.
keeping in contact, and I'm like, dude, I have to have you on. Like, you got to do the podcast. So Jarvis Malone, he'll be a guest. And then also Jason as well, Blue Ox, reached out to him too. I would love to have him on the podcast as well. And there's going to be other guests as well coming down the pipeline with but yeah, I'm just trying to lock everybody in, especially right now the month this month's pretty much already going to be a wrap, and August, everybody. So I would say I think we're going to be doing like in August with Jason, that
Cool.
episode there. So yeah, that should be an awesome one right there.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you, Gary. Thank you for taking the time and coming
Oh
back
yeah.
on the podcast. We'll do this again. We'll definitely follow up with you, see how you've been, and check in with you.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
Edgar, thank you so much for the invite again. Anytime you want me to do this, just let me know. I'm down.
Awesome. I appreciate you. No, thank you. And also thank you everybody as well that tuned in, watching, hanging out with us here live stream, and everyone who commented and participated there on the comments as well. All right. See, everybody have a good night. And you know, if you missed it, the episode's gonna be posted up on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to check this out later. So, all right, cool. All right, Gary. Later
All
on,
right,
man.
Edgar.
Peace
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, later.